Hi there, I'm just going to give you a quick update on some of the stuff that we're doing with PowerBi at St Andrews. I thought I'd start with a little bit of a diagram on how it works. I found this good one on the internet. So we're using a PowerBi tenant in the cloud, like in the top left hand corner, and we can log in with our Office 365 usernames and passwords, which using the SQL Server Analysis Services connector comes back to our on-prem tabular cube, which is part of our SQL Enterprise data warehouse. That in turn does authentication back to Active Directory, which pulls out the user and pushes that back into the tabular cube in terms of row level security, which we're using here in a pretty basic sort of diagram like this, where the user comes in, gets hit with the security policy, and they can only pull out the relevant records from the data warehouse that they can see. So we have some dynamic translation happening in terms of internal staff usernames and connecting those to the relevant rows that they can see. And another basic view of how row level security works, the client app here would be PowerBi that's translating that through to the SQL database. This is one we've been working on now for a wee while, which is a Tutor Quadrant view, and I've just replicated as my school user, and so I can see various users here, and in the top left hand corner we can see some absence reasons for why people are missing school. So justified, lates, school trips, classes that were cancelled, doctor or dentist. In the right hand corner, our fortnightly note averages. So this is across all subjects what their average was out of 5. And then down the bottom we see some NCA credits that are coming in, followed by the bottom right hand corner, which has detentions and uniform reports and things like that. So if I jump to a different student, you can see how responsive this is. Now this is actually pulling the data from our on-prem SQL Server and pushing it back to the cloud and displaying, so you can see that it is pretty responsive here. And again, different results here, some achieved merits and some discipline summary happening too. Changing students, we can see the information as we would hope. Because of the row level security, when our tutors log in, they would only ever see the students in their tutor group, which is pretty handy. So that we think is 4 quadrants that reflect some key things that a tutor would need to know, and then they can drill down into some. So this is actually set for what a year level dean might see, and gives the ability for them to scroll through all of their students and identify which have the highest absences or attendances. Again, it's responsive, so if they only want to see students that have missed medically, the chart down the bottom will reflect just those students for medical reasons. Again, if they wanted to know who's got a lot of lates showing up, they can do the same sort of thing. And vice versa, if we selected a student who we just want to see their absence types, so by selecting that student we can see that the majority of their absences were in fact Q school trips, and the exact periods that were missed are visible down the bottom. Going back to a tutor view, this is being able to get a breakdown by class in terms of percentage attendances and overall absences. And again, clicking through students, we see that it is pretty responsive in terms of showing subjects and percentage of classes that have been missed. For some of these you might think that it is a looks pretty serious, but for some of these that's one class missed was 10%, so there weren't that many classes that actually ran for that particular subject. The fortnightly notes that we run every 2 weeks, the teacher has to give a grade of 1 to 5 for attitude and application, and we're just graphing these across the students, and by running the cursor across you can see the actual subjects that were studied and the individual result that was given for each subject for that reporting period. So if we change students again, we can see some variation here. and you can actually select by subject. So if I wanted to see just 11 maths, sort of highlights that. The table down the bottom updates, and we can see just the exact results there, so it's a little bit clearer in terms of what we're looking at. We're slowly starting to build out some more detailed NCA analysis as well, and we can select students and see if they're enrolled in the standard externally, what the subject was, when the date was that results were coming in, and again just being responsive coming up. So in the background, these are refreshing on a nightly basis through scheduled tasks, where the ETL process runs, extracts the data from our synergetic database, brings it into our data warehouse, and is then pulled through the tabular cube, similar to what we were seeing here, and is then accessible via PowerBi from anywhere. So that's a small update on what we're doing with PowerBi.